Okay.
Welcome, everybody. This is Timmy O'Malley, author of Consuming Love, The Joy of Sharing Meals. And I have my dear friend with me, Heather Lockett, here today. We're here to talk about how important it is to come together in this day and age. In this era of being so connected to our digital devices, we're actually many thought leaders and people who do investigative research are claiming that we're actually experiencing a cultural epidemic of loneliness. And this deserves a lot of conversation right now because there is no reason whatsoever that any of us ever need to feel lonely. We have the opportunity to be together. And my dear friend Heather she's brought herself here today, and I'm so grateful. Welcome, Heather, very much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Heather is a founder of a great organization called Lasting Conversations, which promotes togetherness and being together in an environment that's all inclusive. They put a lot of effort into building community, and they support creative efforts so that people can express themselves in any way that they choose that is the best for themselves. So we like to invite these opportunities, take advantage of these opportunities, and I wanted to have a conversation with Heather and share with you all how important it is to come together. So welcome, Heather. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Timmy. I really appreciate it. And your book is really such a beautiful launch pad for what your message is and what you're doing. The gift of sharing meals around a table. And we all share history about that in one form or another, about what that means. And for some people, it was terrifying to sit at a dinner table growing up. And for others, it was the one connection that families had together in any of its tumult and love offering. And so your book really captures so many stories and vignettes and lessons and heartfelt everything along the way. So thanks again for that.
Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, that means the world to me because the stories really, in the writing of the stories, they weren't meant to be about me. They were meant to be about that expression of what we have all come to feel and experience at various times at the dinner table. They're not always fun, but they all offer us the opportunity to learn more about ourselves and to offer love. And that's the most important thing to me. And I think we share that bond, and knowing that compassion and love in action is our greatest responsibility, and our ability to do that is wonderful. So thank you so much. And
Right.
So Heather, share with me a little bit, if you would, about maybe a very memorable experience that you've had at the table, an opportunity where you got to learn more about yourself and what that meant to you.
Well, in thinking about our visit today, my mind went to the Wayback Room in memories and things. So all of these vignettes shaped who I am today, basically. And I'll have to thank my grandparents, or on one side of my family, Pauline and George, who they loved entertaining, and they had people come to their homes. And for whatever reason, as a child, I wasn't scuttled out of the room, but I was put to work passing the cheese and crackers, or pouring the tea, or even mixing the cocktails, as a matter of fact. And I just loved it. I loved being in the action as they were having fun with their friends, talking about all kinds of things at the time. And then especially if we were sitting at the table during these parties or during family holidays, and my grandfather would be the one that would nudge me and say, and now Heather is going to make the toast. Well,
nice.
I would always be completely unprepared, but that has ultimately served me well to be, because he was at the head of the table, and I got to sit next to him so often, also at the head of the table. And I have to say that it's kind of really not lost on me that I'm at the head of my dining room table at the house with my computer stacked with cookbooks at eye level, and some of which are from their home. And life always comes full circle. And so these memories of I can't even remember the actual conversation, but you and I have talked about that hum of love. There's a hum when people come together to cook, and the preparation of the meal and the sitting and the chitter chat or the silence. There's this hum, and when the meal is delicious, and you know it's really delicious when all conversation stops and there's the hum.
Yeah.
And people just go,
Mm-hmm.
this is delicious. But we're not, it's the food, like your book does. It's more than the deliciousness of the food and that nourishment. It is literally, we're drinking in and sharing that nourishment of each other in such a heart way. So, so that was very memorable as a child. And then fast forward, I ended up working at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston in my 20s. And so that was all about service and being through with people of many walks of life, and being kind of a participant per se in all of their conversations and experiences. And that might be a whole different show, because there are some really fun nuggets in
I bet.
experiences. But again, when I ended up doing banquets, there are weddings, and then there are weddings.
Right, right.
That are all about, they just all want to come together, and it's not about the party and the show and the appropriate guest list. This is, again, that hum, and then there's dancing and singing and cake and a big mess afterwards.
Right.
And the absolute coming together at the table to share of each other, and it's so fun. Lastly, I was thinking of my kids, and we got busy doing the day-to-day basketball and theater and different things like that. But I ended up saying, wherever we were, if we were in the car having a meal on the go or at the table, I'd say, what's your favorite part of your day? Or what are you looking forward to today? Instead of the how was your day? There was a little of that, but we would just go around and talk about our day. And again, the meal might have been delicious, or it could have been frozen or takeout or something, but that
but you were allowing the kids then to share about what's coming from their heart and from themselves, right? Exactly. That's wonderful.
Exactly. Mercifully, cell phones and such hadn't quite come on the scene when they were young, but we did have screen time. And or if the house phone answered, I minded my own rule and did not jump to distract away from the table. Meal times where we would laugh and laugh and laugh, or go over the homework's not finished. But so those experiences are very sacred to me.
Wow, I just love that. I love that you were also sort of embedded with this love of service from a very young age, that brought you such joy, and then you were able to carry that through to your career.
Right.
And I'm sure the Ritz-Carlton provided many events that were just full of details. I can't even imagine, that they were
full.
Beautiful, I'm sure.
Very, very full. Yeah, there were some stories, everything from the really most poignant, and I'd just be a waiter off to the side, but some of them would all be just bawling because of that love, people coming together, or someone was being celebrated who was terminally ill, and it was just a very sacred time. And then, as crazy as that, poof, one day there was an impromptu wedding of 10 or 12 people. Very long and very odd story later, I see the bride running into the bathroom with her groom, and the catering manager who was helping them was ghost white, because during the cake cutting, the groom turns around and slaps the bride.
Oh my gosh.
So
oh my gosh.
It's this gamut of, I guess, what food or what coming together in general can do to people. And
Wow.
That was years and years ago, and I mean, I hope for both of their sake they didn't stay together. But
Right.
kind of getting back on track to what your theme is about, it's always something. And what you had said on the back of your book cover about we come to the table in love or judgment, and how the rest of the whole time plays out is whether we're going to lay down our judgment,
Hmm.
um, and just roll with it, and which with meals can be tricky these days as people have higher and higher and higher expectations of what the food itself is going to be. But really it all comes down to, are we here to enjoy each other
Hmm.
or complain and moan about the circumstances or ingredients and such?
Right. And also being open to other ways of thinking,
Right.
different opinions without holding on to our own so firmly that we're
Right.
not willing to even discuss or entertain other beliefs or thoughts, or and how limiting that can be overall.
Mhm.
I mean, makes it all very white bread, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's not as flavorful and colorful and enjoyable as having that full gamut of flavors and colors available to us.
Right.
Which is why I love your organization, the idea of mind lasting conversations and
Mhm.
how that can bring us together in ways that nourish us very deeply. When we're exposed to new ideas and new beliefs, it might open our minds and our hearts to different ways of seeing the world and being together. How important
Exactly.
that is! It's so important.
Well, and my journey with this has started really with coloring, adult coloring. I heard it was a thing. We didn't have it locally. And utilizing Meetup, people have found it. Now there's over 1,000 or 1,500 members. And not that we get 1,500 people all the time, but it's been an amazing time to see where people really are hungry for that face-to-face, heart-to-heart.
Mm,
And that total strangers will come together. And now real bonded friendships have come from something as simple as coloring. We would think it'd be like the old quilting bee or sewing circles
right, right,
that
right.
you would gather around and just shoot the breeze and say what are the tragedies of your life or what's your favorite movie. Um, but broader than that, though, to me, is also the sharing of getting into personal or family history or ancestral lines and sharing those memories, as well as thinking of by doing all of that, by sharing of ourselves together in supportive ways, and by dropping the judgments of others and of self, the richness of people that can be vulnerable and to breathe and to
Mm,
have a pause in their day. And especially as, you know, we're all spinning. The world seems a little crazy sometimes, and people have really tough personal things. Husbands that have passed away, or downsizing of a home, so that even sharing with an adult show and tell, sharing of the stories behind some personal items that people have had to comb through from their parents' house before the parents' home
mm,
sells. All these things, then you can let them go, but they have a story to tell, and everybody and everything has a story to tell. And people really are hungry. Technology is fabulous, but they really, really love coming together. And my goal for this year is to create a bigger house, if you will, a home to have multiple rooms, an actual center for conversation, to have multiple rooms for artistic creativity, for music, for sacred silence and wild abandoned,
mm.
and lots of cups of tea and potluck dinners and
Wow.
ways of sharing of ourselves.
It sounds
And for
fabulous.
authors like yourself, to
Mm.
come and do speaking engagements and engage with people.
That sounds fabulous.
For that, for community as well.
Well, it's great. And so I'm curious, and you're talking about this, is that how does this light you up when you've had the opportunity to actually share maybe a difficult time when you've gone through recently some challenges in your family,
Mm-hmm.
and with you know, having that opportunity to actually open yourself up? How does it help you move through that difficult time, knowing that
And
it,
now we'll get to the crying portion of the show, Timmy.
yeah.
It's it's hard to quantify but the gifts of being able to know that there's a team. And some people show up, but mostly how I show up for myself is to it goes back to that hum. You know, my brother recently, one of my brothers passed away in December, and just a couple nights later, our local ladies in our neighborhood was getting together for Christmas Bunko. So it wasn't just Bunko, it was Christmas Bunko, where we've gotten together monthly for 15, 20 years at this point. And I think some people thought, well, are you sure you want to come? And I thought, there's nowhere I'd rather be.
Right.
There's nowhere I'd rather be than at a table with these ladies where every one of us has something very profound happening. And we were able to laugh and have fun and hug and cry and laugh and have fun and be stupid silly and have a glass of wine and just be together. And it's priceless. And we can do that in a different way and in similar ways with lasting conversations as well. It is, again, it's that community and that sharing of self, and how that lights me up. It just does. It is that light that lifts. It is that love. It is that hum that sustains me and the rest of us. And so when people's response, or they will post that they felt welcomed, they felt they were just so happy to be able to show up somewhere safe. Widows who it was their first time out of the house, outside of that their husband had passed away, and it was literally the first thing that they had found to do by themselves in 40 years.
Wow.
And she came to color and we just talked, and it becomes hard to describe to me. It just is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that lights me up. And to be able, I want to build a great big house in a as simple as going to the mall, that we can all just pause and have a morning breath or have a dance and be together and have delicious meals together and relate. We can put down our phones and be eye to eye and relate to each other. Even when here's the other thing, that phrase like-minded, I've come to realize I kind of prefer the term like resonant. And even that, people can trigger us and push our buttons. But if I'm with like-minded people all the time, I'll be in my living room by myself, because none of us really are like-minded. We can share similar things, but the juice is in all of our differences.
I agree 100%. And you've just really touched on the foundational elements of what it means to build community, which is why I can see that you're so passionate about it, and how important that is for each and every one of us. And in fact, I think that the research is finding that we need to spend quality time together in order to stay healthy and vibrant. And I'm so grateful that we are having this conversation now, and so that we can encourage others to do anything and everything that they can do to come together in community. If it's in service, or if it's an opportunity to let somebody be of service to you.
Exactly.
That's ultimately what we're here for, isn't it?
It totally is. Right. It is literally the give and the take, which is a heartbeat, right?
Exactly.
It bears back and forth. And so my question to you, Timmy, with your book is, from what we were just talking about, is there a particular moment along your journey? You shared so many beautiful stories, but was there something that stands out to you in particular for this particular conversation we're having?
Well, for me, it's an annual event that takes place that my father started almost 40 years ago, and it's the Feast of Lanterns, and it's a community celebration and at Lovers Point in Pacific Grove. And so I look forward to this event every year because my father has hosted this barbecue, and it brings community together in a way that I just don't experience anywhere else. And it's so sweet, and it's all very much about accepting anyone and everybody as they are. And one of the things my dad has sort of inspired over the years is to invite people who maybe don't know anything about it. One year there was a French family that had just landed in San Francisco the night before. They had driven down to Monterey and stumbled upon the event. And my dad, he just went straight up to them and he said, "Come and join us. We're having dinner." And there was a lot of food. He wouldn't accept money from them. He just piled up a bunch of plates for their family, and they sat and they got to enjoy American hospitality at its finest. And they were so over the top impressed that we were able then just to say, this is who we are, and we're so happy to share this with you. And that made a big impression. These are the sort of things that stick in my mind as, how can we make this happen more often? How can we give of ourselves freely without expectation or anything in return? And that's what gives me the greatest joy. So my father's been a real inspiration for me in that regard. So any and every opportunity I have to spend time with others, I always say yes, because I just love it.
What a gift that is. And, there's that organic piece that was serendipitous, that could have never been planned even.
Right.
And that's beautiful right there. And so I find that as well, that in some ways all the planning in the world can be great, and yet the real juice, the real fun, excitement, the nerve-wracking, we're talking about planning weddings and bigger events, when moments like that are organic and synchronistic, that is the stuff of goosebumps, isn't it?
Yeah, and you talked about resonance, right? When we can bring a coherent resonance within ourselves to any event, any gathering, any exchange of energy amongst 2 people, 3 people, 20 people, 100 people,
right?
It really doesn't matter. All of that whirling energy around us doesn't matter if we're just present with each other, right? Then it can be a potluck like we discussed, or it can be a gourmet meal, or it could just be sitting at a park bench with one another. If we're invited for the opportunity, we need to put as much energy into being present with each other. Because exactly. I don't think in presence we can actually be judgmental. I think if we're actually with somebody in this moment, there can't be judgment.
Right.
Right.
Right. Or it can be, and then it goes, oh, I choose not to do that, and it just washes right away. But right. But you're right, in that moment, and when we see somebody so joyous and I hate to say appreciative, but going back to your father's story and the joy that comes from that, it is infectious, and that is the gift of a lifetime. When we know we have essentially welcomed somebody home and they feel welcome, and here's a plate, there's always a place for you. And that's really, again, that's everything.
And that's the energy that I hope that we can spread around the world, so that there is no longer an epidemic of loneliness, that we are all welcome, and we all have value and worth, and it's just the love that we are. We need just to know that.
Right.
and share it as much as we can. And it's in the sharing that we want to also give. So somebody's got to receive it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and and some people have a hard time receiving, and that's okay too, right? And I just had I was thinking of the story Stone Soup. As a kid, I adored that story, and not because of the trick that was played, but so even in kindergarten when I first heard that story, it
You
was
have to
that.
share it with me because I don't know it.
Oh, so Stone Soup, to just a very, very, very brief paraphrase, it's an old tale where I'll just say a fox. It could have been a little boy, but someone was in the woods, was hungry, and so decided to invite friends, and said we're having Stone Soup dinner. Well, what's that? Wait and see. And he put on a pot of boiling water, but he told everybody, just bring a little something. And so the goose brought some celery, and this animal brought some carrots, and this one brought this and turnips, and they put it into this pot, and he had a stone in the pot of this water, which turned into a delicious vegetable stew from what everybody else had brought.
I love that story. I
And
love that.
they just had the best meal, thinking that he created this whole big meal. So in some ways he was a trickster, but really the part that I always really loved, it was that gathering and that magic of, oh, you're sharing a little of this and a little of this. We don't know how it's going to turn out, but oh my goodness, this is delicious.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they laughed and
Right.
had a
That's
good
great.
time. Yeah. Some places, restaurants or other community oriented people have Stone Soup meals, and I hope to do that with Lasting Conversations when we're in our venue. But that's where that phrase comes from.
I love that idea. I love
Yeah.
that idea. Thank you for sharing.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, Heather, I'm so thrilled with the work that you're doing in the world and how you're building community. And I really want to thank you for spending some quality time with me. I feel more nourished and rich from your time and presence.
Thank you, Timmy. And this has really been a pleasure. And again, best wishes with your book and everything that you're doing with Consuming Love and your messaging and your heart sharing out into the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sweetheart. We'll see each other soon, hopefully.
Definitely. Thanks.